I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Welcome into the Daily Puck Drop, another edition here, Thursday, June 26th. Welcome in to one and all to the Daily Puck Drop. We come to you live every single day at 10 a.m., and we go all the way to 11:30 on Twitter, on YouTube. Also download the Puck Sports mobile app for your listening pleasure. You can take us on the move, on the go, in the car, Apple CarPlay. Just search Puck Sports Mobile there from your favorite app store, whether it's Google Play or the App Store for iPhones. Also, every show, once we get over, is uploaded to YouTube at 12 o'clock. Just search Puck Sports there. When you're there, subscribe to the channel, like the channel. Over 5,000 subscribers, which is, again, in this world is probably a small number, but for me, that's a big number. I like it. 5,000 people. It's great. So thank you to one and all who have subscribed to that channel. Just one of many platforms that we are on. Again, the full show goes up there, the Daily Puck Drop on YouTube once we're over. Also on your favorite podcast platforms. And it does not matter which platform you use. It's Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube Music, does not matter. It all goes to the same great place. Also, find everything up at pucksports.com, which, again, you can sign up to be a Puck's Posse member there at pucksports.com. More information there. Also, the QR code, if you are watching the show, that QR code, if you take a snapshot of it, will take you there as well. Broadcasting, as we always do, from the world-renowned Limbach Lumber Studios. Contractors, they got free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects. They've got the largest stock moldings in the Northwest. They've got old school service because they've been doing it since 1930. Give them a call at 206-782-3487. They're going to take care of you. And visit them at limbachlumber.com. Tell them I sent you. All right? Great people. But great, great people. Matt, Mark, Paul, everyone over there. Follow me on the social media platforms if you aren't already. Puck Sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Puck_sports on TikTok. And, of course, you can find all of our video clips up there on TikTok and Instagram and there on Facebook as well. And one more time, go visit pucksports.com. Sign up to become a Puck's Posse member. You get support all the free content we do, and we give you VIP and bonus shows as well, including today. Thursday is always a big day. It's another episode, and no technical problems for the second straight week. It's amazing. KJ Arntz with the one and only Mitch Levy, Mitch Unfiltered Podcast. Go subscribe to his channel there as well, his podcast, which, of course, he's been banging it out here for a number of years. He joins me during the live show, and then once the live show is over, in case you miss it or you came in late and you want to watch or listen to the full show, the full podcast, that's only available to Puck's Posse members. So sign up at pucksports.com. But we'll talk to Mitch today. Also coming up on the show today, he will join us in probably about 5-6 minutes. Mike Garafolo, the latest in the NFL. And certainly a huge topic in the NFL is this story that has come out this week about collusion. You've heard many people write about it already. And a central character, a figure in this story is Russell Wilson and how he plays a part in all of this. And for nothing that he did wrong, it's because the NFLPA really didn't want this to come out because J.C. Treader, who was part of the NFLPA, had some not so nice things to say there about Russell Wilson. So we'll get into that with Garafolo. In addition, Brad Adam of Root Sports. We caught up with Brad earlier today. I know the Mariners game, I'll be honest with you, I haven't even checked. Is the Mariners game going to be played or not? We really danced around the weather issue in Minneapolis, but since they had a morning game, Brad and I talked earlier this morning, as we usually do anyways on Thursdays. They are in a rain delay right now, so we'll wait and see when they will get underway. But we talked to Brad just about Chicago. God, he's got a great story about Chicago, about going out on the town. Just about where they are overall offensively, the Edgar Martinez effect, which we'll get into here in just a brief second or throughout the show, maybe before or after we talk to Garafolo. And then Mitch will come on, another episode of KJ Arntz there with Mitch Levy coming up there in the program. All right, Mariners and Twins yesterday, and not really a lot to talk about of that game. Just 2-0. They lost. It wasn't not much of an offense. They had 11 strikeouts. Only had one walk, kind of reverted back to where their offense can be, negative there at times. Problem is that Houston beat Philly last night 2-0. And so now their deficit jumped to 5.5 games. So they're at 41-38. Kirby was good, 6 innings last night, 3 hits, 1 earned run. The Edgar effect, we want to get into that. Adam Jude, we talked about this yesterday. Adam Jude and I were texting back and forth as he was kind of in the midst of writing this. And I had asked Adam a question because he had mentioned something in his notes, about, hey, one thing that Edgar's really worked on with Julio this year, and it came to fruition in that first at-bat of the game yesterday, where Julio, and an emphasis for Julio, for Edgar, and for everybody, has been working deeper into counts. Can you get this starter to throw more pitches so you can just, it's clear, right? It's obvious to many. See more pitches throughout the game. And he had a note the day before, did Adam Jude, in the paper, and so I texted Adam. I said, hey, where can I find the stat? And I'm an idiot when it comes to looking up stats sometimes, especially I'm an idiot. Many of you are probably great using Baseball Reference. I'm not. I'm a moron. And I go, can you see, and compare and contrast, how has he improved over the years and how many pitches he's seen per plate appearance? And he's like, oh, that's a good question. He's like, I interviewed Edgar about talking about plate discipline, and one thing I didn't look up was that, and I'm curious about this. So he looked it up, and we ended up, kind of going back and forth, and he wrote about it in today's paper, seattletimes.com. If you're not a subscriber, go be a subscriber. Adam and everyone there does a great job of covering all things there at the newspaper. Newspapers are important, all right? Get a hard copy, too. I get a hard copy every day as well. And, I think the thing is they've been really good at it. And that's the thing with the Edgar effect of, here was a guy throughout his career was someone that loved to see a pitcher work. And how many pitches could he see during an at-bat and throughout the game to not only tire that pitcher out, but to give everybody else on the team, hey, this is what he's got. This is everything he's throwing. And that, has Adam had pointed out, this might be a surprise to some, they lead the league. They're actually tied with the Mets in terms of how many pitches they see per plate appearance. It's 3.95. Let's just round up and call it 4. So on average, they see about 4 pitches a game. And Julio, he's actually slightly down from where he was a year ago in terms of how many he has been seeing this year, but he's on an uptick right now. And it's just a perfect timing of us talking about it yesterday, and then the piece coming out by Adam. His first at-bat was great. It's just great. Saw 8 pitches in that. Really should have been a walk, and it really should have gone down as a walk, but he got nicked on the elbow guard. But he saw 8 pitches in that at-bat. And you saw, so again, that's a trend in the right direction, because that, you would hope, it didn't, the case yesterday didn't help, but you would hope that would pay dividends as you get later into the game. It didn't yesterday, but whatever. But it was just it was a really good AB there from Julio yesterday, especially when he got down. He had fouled off a four-seam fastball, just looking at the pitch breakdown here. And the count was 1-2. He gets it to 2-2. He fouls off that pitch to get to 3-2. And then he fouls off another four-seam that was inside, but he's able to get that off. And, he ends up next pitch getting hit. Just a great, and then he ends up stealing second, and you put him in a position, now scoring position with the hottest hitter in baseball, and then Cal ends up striking out. But that was in a game that didn't have a lot of action, right? 7 total hits, only 3 by the M's. Those are kind of the small victories in that game yesterday was Julio's AB there in the first inning. So there is an Edgar effect in terms of how he's been able to approach this offense. We'll have more on that throughout the show. Brad Adams is going to join us coming up in a little bit. Bottom of the hour, we'll talk more about the M's. They're in a rain delay right now. We'll talk about the sweltering heat that Brad had to deal with in Chicago. And then Mitch Levy, Mitch Unfiltered Podcast every Thursday with us. All right. He joins us every Thursday. Well, he was backstage. Now he left. Our guy, Mike Garafolo. Where'd you go, Mike? I lost your video. Garafolo will join us here momentarily, and we'll talk to Mike about the very latest with all things NFL. And Mike joins us. You good to go, Mike? How are you, sir?
Yeah, just these earphones are, these things are not meant to last forever. They want you to buy new ones. It's part of the game. So
of course they want you to buy new ones. It's all part of the gig.
Just a pain in the butt
how
to
are
connect.
you, sir? How's your summer break going?
I'm good. Am I on a nasty delay here? Let's go. I'll do 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. You do 3. 1, 2,
3.
Oh yeah, we're bad here. What's going on in this one? I don't know. Summer break. This ain't no break. Oh, God. Gotta send these kids to camp. Like, if the kids don't like camp, who cares? Who cares? Did my parents care what I liked that I didn't like? No. They just freaking did it. Shut up. And
I find the summer to be more problematic, especially when your kids are younger. That's when you have to find them things to do. Now, my kids are now in the age of 16 and almost to 12. They're on their own, right? Kind of now. And so they have their own things. But when they're younger and you're trying to find things for them to do, very difficult.
Oh, this is horrible. This is like dad. And then my wife has been in Chicago all week. Was supposed to come back yesterday. Her flight got canceled. Lovely timing. So, and listen, I've been dealing with, it's cooler today, thank God, but I've been dealing with no air conditioning in both our shore house that you saw that I was at last week, and then we came back to Hoboken to our apartment, and there was no air conditioning there either. So that was a nice touch on a 100-degree day.
It really that really resonates with a lot of our listeners and viewers probably when you didn't have AC at the second house in the shore house.
Dude, listen. We're not driving a Rolls Royce here, okay? All right. Still trying to find ways to pay for lunch today. We just happened to board all into a shore house. That's what you do when you're from Jersey. You got to have a shore house. You have to. It's mandatory.
Hey, this collusion story that has now burst onto the scene this week that came out in part because of the Deshaun Watson story, and then has the tentacles with Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, has been thrown into the mix now for a kind of a different reason of why his name's being mentioned. Mm-hmm. How big is this story? It's, to me on the outside, seems very big, and how big can this get, you think?
Can we approach this from a different angle? Because it's like that the story has been the size of the story rather than the story itself. This should be bigger. I don't know why you people don't care. And the fact of the matter is, like, the average person, I've dealt with this in my career throughout, the average person cares about, like, their fantasy team and their team and information that leads them to, make their decisions on what they do on Sundays and Thursdays and every other day of the week. So you can't make people care. You can't. You can't just be like, you should care about this. They're either going to care or they're not, right? And I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't cover it. I'm just saying it's been hilarious this week to say, this is such a big deal, and we're putting this out there, and we're hammering it, and other people aren't, and you should care. And it's like the public's going to tell you what they care about, right? And the public's going to just cover it. Just cover it, put it out there. And, so when you say, like, how big can this story get, I think it's over. I think it's run its course, right? And I think, okay, fine, there were some findings, and there were some things that some people felt were smoking guns. I disagree. I don't think that they were. I'll take you back through the whole thing, because the notion that the NFL as a collective group was, now I go back to Nnamdi Asomugha had a 3-year deal from the Raiders for, I think, $45 million. I think it was 15 a year. This was back in like 2010, maybe a little before that. And it was fully guaranteed. And I remember GMs around the league being pissed off. Probably owners too, but I remember GMs being pissed off, saying that, did they just set a precedent here that other players are going to want to follow on? Now, there's a big difference between a 3-year fully guaranteed deal and a 5-year fully guaranteed deal. Okay? So now go to where Deshaun Watson is. It's a bidding war between all these teams, and everybody wants him. Okay? Because you very rarely get a guy of his caliber available. The Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons were both given an opportunity to do what the Cleveland Browns did, because Watson didn't want to go to the Browns. As a matter of fact, he ruled the Browns out. He called them and said they had to narrow the teams down. He called the Browns. He said, you're out. They then came back and said, we're prepared to offer you a fully guaranteed 5-year deal, because they knew that they had to do something to leap over these teams that were geographically more in line with where he wanted to go. You know, Carolina, near Clemson, where he had played. Atlanta, he had some roots down in Atlanta as well. Carolina and Atlanta, at that point, both said, you're out of your mind. We're not doing a 5-year fully guaranteed deal. So one guy makes a decision that we've got to do this if we want to land this quarterback. And they did. And it was an enormous mistake. And they're paying for it now. At that point, no matter what the management council says, you already had teams elsewhere. The other 31 teams were not going to do this. One guy did it. He'll never do it again. Okay? So, like, this notion that, like, oh, it was going to go this way, it was never going to go this way in the first place. And then it was like, oh, it was going to go this way, and they stopped it from going that way. I don't know what the management council said. It seemed like there were some, but the thought of, like, Jeff Pash or Kevin Booth, who I covered when he was with the Giants as an offensive lineman, wields more power and more influence than, I don't know, Jerry Jones, Robert Kraft, these guys that have been around forever that are never going to do these deals, that Jerry Jones is sitting there letting the coaching deals run out. I don't see the whole, like, I don't buy it as collusion. I think it was one guy who made it. And what my last thought before I let you say some words. Sorry, Puck, taking over your show here. Let's say tomorrow they said, okay, we're going to go to fully guaranteed deals. Every deal in the NFL said it'll never happen, because even baseball that has them mostly doesn't have it written into the CBA. It just that's what happens in baseball. It's a lot easier because there's longer careers and fewer injuries. Let's say tomorrow they said every deal in the NFL has to be fully guaranteed. Fully guaranteed. You know what these deals are going to wind up being? 1, 2, and 3-year deals. What they are, like, the guaranteed portion of the deal now will be the entire deal. There'll be no 5-year deals. There'll be no 4-year deals. Now, you could say the players can hold out, and Russell Wilson should have held out and been stronger and all this stuff. If Russ tried to do that with Denver, he never would have gotten a deal, ever. So, they're all my thoughts. But feel free to ask me more, because I have more thoughts.
Well, if they have, though, owners, and I think there was in the reporting, maybe a story I think was between the Chargers and the Cardinals. If you have the two owners discussing, hey, what are you going to do with your quarterback? And then it's, well, what are you going to do with yours? Mm-hmm. And we need to be on a united front in terms of contract. Can't you see there where people look at that and go, well, that is collusion? That you're trying to drive down the prices of the quarterbacks or or whoever the player is. Yeah.
I mean, listen, I also, I guess it's collusion because it comes from that side. From the other side, it's agents talking to each other. What are you going to do? Make sure we do, and that's why you've got a lot of draft picks that aren't signed, because all the agents want to be on the same page and make sure that I'm not going to cave, you're not going to cave. So I guess when it goes up, it's fine. When it comes down, it's considered collusion. I do. I understand where you're coming from that standpoint. But, there's a salary cap. There's a salary floor. The money has to be spent, right? So it's not like they're hiding money. They can't. They have to spend the money. It has to go to the players in some form or fashion. And listen, there's a lot of people out there saying quarterbacks are making too much. and it's taken away from guys elsewhere. And I agree with that. And I know there's been thought of I just think it's too hard to do this, but there's been thought of let's cap the quarterbacks and redirect the money elsewhere. If you could do that and you can get quarterbacks to agree to that, and it would make sense, and you'd be guaranteed that money would be funneled elsewhere, I'd be all for it. I just think it's hard to do, and I think it's hard to stop guys from making money, in this capitalistic society. Who earned the money? Who gets it? Why do they get it? It's the hardest position in sports. I get all that. So I feel like and in the end, by the way, the finding was that there was no collusion. That the management council said this, and in the end, you don't have enough evidence to prove the point. That's what the arbitrator decided.
But in talking to agents and players, that what came out, at least in this reporting, it doesn't squash how they feel, because I would assume many players feel like there has been collusion going on, and this would only just add fuel to that.
Agents, yes. Agents, yes. I don't think you get a whole lot of players. You'll get the leadership of the NFLPA. Most players are apt to accept what the system is and what the system's been. That's why when it comes to the last time we've had a couple of CBAs, in the end, the players weren't willing to miss paychecks. They weren't willing to hold together, and they weren't willing to fight this as long. And you're not going to have that in this day and age. I just don't feel like you're going to have that. And I don't know when the next NFL players strike we will see is, and I don't think that this is the seeds for it. I just don't believe that this modern day player is willing to sit there and say, all right, we're going to make short-term sacrifices for long-term gains.
How do you think the Russell Wilson element of this story is that the NFLPA is it J.C. Tretter?
Yes.
Had comments in there of, I think he called him a wuss. Yeah. He was not happy with that. He did not hold out to get more guaranteed money. What's the fallout from that with players like Russell in particular and other players that you have the head of the NFLPA talking like that about players, people that he represents?
Which is a part of the reason why the NFLPA didn't want the document out, didn't want to leak the document. We know that. Also, was that in that document? Did you read the entire document?
No, I didn't read. No, I just read what other people wrote about it. No, I didn't read the document. I just read the reporting from.
Check when you get a second. Let me ask you a question. When you get a second, take a look at the document and tell me if the formatting is a little odd to you.
Okay.
Throw that out there.
Okay. The formatting?
The formatting, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I will.
Because I've seen these legal documents, plenty of them over my days of covering the NFL. They're usually pretty clean and not askew and seemingly clipped in certain places.
Okay. All right.
Because I'm not so sure. I got to go back and I'm not so sure that the Russell Wilson thing was in that. I got to check to see if that was in the document. But I know it got out. I know it got out. So, but yeah, this is the way they felt around the CBA when it was like the leadership was trying to push for a harder stance, and the players were not as apt to go that route. It's like, let's just take the best deal we can possibly take at this point. And the owners are really good at this stuff, man. I think they're just really good at this stuff. I don't mean that like, oh, I'm so impressed. I'm just saying this is what they do. This is what they've done to build their wealth over the years. And it's like you try to go to battle with these guys. And yes, there's leadership at the NFLPA that does have that sort of training and that sort of mindset. But you're not going to get these guys to fall in, because in Russell Wilson's mind, I'm getting started with a new team, with the Denver Broncos. I don't know how long my shelf life is going to be. And if this thing is a disaster, I'm going to be on the move again. Spoiler alert, it was, and he was. He's more concerned with like, let's focus on the football. Good. What do we got on the table at the time? That's a great deal. I've already made life-changing money. This is not going to change my life. It's just going to be more money. Let's get the deal done. Also, it was a really good deal. It was so good that the Broncos were like, we're going to eat $40 million, whatever it was last year, to have him go play for the Steelers for the minimum. It was a really good deal. Not a bad deal, you know? So I understand where Russ was coming from on that. I do. And if he tried to hold out for a 5-year fully guaranteed, say this is the new norm, it never would have come, because you had, from what I understand, Penner saying, why are we even doing this deal right now? He's got 2 years left in his deal, and the Broncos were like, no, we want to reward him. We want to, start off on a good foot. So if you had then gone back to the owner and say, okay, he doesn't want this, he wants a 5-year, of course, at that point he's going to push back even harder. So.
We did an entire segment today when we didn't even talk about Aaron Rodgers and, hey, this may be my final year, but God, if people like me and keep talking me back in, I'll come back. See, and I saved you from that. I saved you from talking about Aaron Rodgers.
Did we talk about his wife last week? Did you ask me about that?
No, but is she real or not?
I find it hard. I have questions. I don't find it hard to believe until I know, but I have questions. Where are her friends? Where's her family members? Where is anybody that she is connected to who knows? Yes, hi, TMZ. My name is Mike. My friend Brittany is married to Aaron Rodgers. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Nothing. Not a thing. How?
But
I'm not saying she's fake.
Have you ever seen her? I haven't even seen a picture of her, right?
The only thing I got, and I haven't seen this for myself, somebody told me they saw it. There's some Instagram account that is like a celebrity gossip account, and there was an entry, as an anonymous entry from a woman who said, I was at dinner, and I saw Aaron Rodgers. He was with a woman who appeared to be married. My husband wouldn't let me take a picture or something like that. I don't even remember who told me that. I can't even tell you the Instagram account and why it's Instagram when it's a bunch of words. I have no idea. But again, like, they haven't been seen together. Nobody knows her. I every day I try to rearrange the letters in Brittany to like come up with a word and see if there's a hidden code there or something. I have no idea.
I'm going to leave this one alone because I love you. I mean, but you do have an expert that you work with, so.
Huh? That I work with?
Yeah. On this subject. I'm going to let you think about it. I said I'm going to leave it alone. I'm a bad teammate. I really am. I'm sorry.
There's a lot in this. Never mind.
I'm sorry.
You're not a bad teammate.
I'm sorry. I was just trying to have fun with it, and I'm not. We don't need to talk about it. You're the best.
But like.
Stop. Just stop. Don't. You're good. Go get some lunch for the girls.
I feel like I'm okay. Go back to Aaron. I feel like I'm okay to respond to this.
Okay.
Because he's doing it like to us. Like he put the ring on. He knew what he was doing. He wore it multiple places. He was asked about it. He said, yes, I'm married. I was there that day. I should have asked follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Like, I've been married for a couple of months. And Brooke Pryor, who covers the Steelers for ESPN, was the one that asked. And I saw her afterward and we were talking. And I was like, I started to ask the question. And it just never came out of my mouth because I felt like, to who you're married? To who? Like, to whom? It was just like, you don't ask people, you're married? Oh, to whom? Like, who else in the world would you ask that to? But it was probably the proper question. And who is she? Do we know? And you would not have gotten an answer, right? So I guess that's why it never really came out of my mouth. And at that point, we had so many football questions that, just didn't get to it. So anyway,
you're not entertainment or TMZ. All right, go get some camp scheduled for the girls, and we'll see you next week.
You got it, pal. Oh wait, well, next week is the 4th, right? What are we doing?
Oh yeah. We'll get.
Figure it out.
We're not going to celebrate. We're not going to do a show on America's Day. Yeah, that's for America.
I mean,
that's right.
Yeah. We're gonna be having some fun because that's the one holiday. It's the one holiday of the entire year that I can get scot-free, clear-minded. Except for when I think I was at Fox at the time, or maybe I had to be at Fox when JPP had his unfortunate accident, and that became the story of the summer. NFL players and coaches and personnel, let's be safe over the next week or so.
Take it off. We're good.
Not just because I don't want to work. Let's just be safe. Period. Okay, folks.
I agree. All right, see you, Mike.
See ya.
There he is, Mike Garafolo. I didn't even get the read in. He joins us every single week, all brought to you by Hartley and Hartley Insurance, your trusted family-owned insurance experts in the Puget Sound area since 1978. Honesty, fairness, integrity. Contact Jamie Hartley, 253-565-8700. Also, Zogs on Fox Island. Perfect spot. Grab a cold beer. Watch the fireworks, by the way. And hang out and watch the game. Zogs on Fox Island. All right. I didn't want to make him uncomfortable about the wife not being real. Manti. He's on the NFL Network. Get Manti on. Hey, Manti, what's it like? Okay, moving on. Brad Adam of Root Sports. We caught up with Brad earlier. I caught up with Brad earlier this morning, as we normally do on Thursdays. Let's talk a little baseball. They are in a rain delay. The word out of Minneapolis, it will be a lengthy delay today. So we'll see if they can squeeze it in. They may not be able to squeeze it in, which is just going to be a just a shitty way to have a road trip, because they'll have to go back at some point and make that game up. But Brad Adam joins us every single week. It's all brought to you by the world-renowned John Howie Steak. We talked to Brad from his hotel room about a number of things. His road trip, how that has gone, dealing with all the heat there in Chicago. He went out on the town, this guy. Went out on the town and was a star, an absolute star, was Mr. Brad Adam in Chicago at Wrigley Field. But Brad joins us every single week. It's all brought to you. Big thanks to John Howie Steak, and, of course, Whiskey by John Howie. Brad Adam joins us from Root Sports, all brought to you by John Howie Steak, voted #1 restaurant in Seattle by readers of Seattle Magazine. Classic steakhouse with the best selection of hand-cut steaks from USDA Prime to Japanese A5 Wagyu. Also brought to you by Whiskey by John Howie, which features global selections of rare, well-done whiskeys, something for everyone. From the curious to the connoisseur, Whiskey boasts a collection of hundreds of bottles from around the world. Well, it has been a road trip for you, Brad Adam. You've had oppressive heat. Now we're into the rain in Minneapolis. What are the
more oppressive heat in Texas?
Yeah, and then right back to the heat in Texas. Back at it.
I tell you what, though,
and what this does more than anything, I want people to understand this. Oh. This doesn't affect the baseball team.
No,
this affects you.
Thank you.
Because and it's not even you working for Root. It's the golf game.
Great point.
Because no one wants to play in the heat that hot, and you did play in the heat, but then now you can't even play in Minneapolis because it's raining.
Don't play in the rain anymore, Puck.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
I'm old enough where it's like, you know what? I don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But before we get going, let me just give you a shout out. You know, this means a lot to me that you're here this morning.
Well, as people are watching this, depending on when you're watching and listening to this, we recorded real early in the morning.
2-hour difference, and you basically are saying to me, "Hey, Brad, I value you so much. I'm going to get up before anybody else, and do this show because that's how important I am."
More just about I need stuff to fill the show. I'll do anything for you.
I'm right there with you. The content.
So because it's an early morning game, boy, we have to record like 2 different shows. Boy, they looked great today. Okay, cut that. 3, 2, 1.
Right, ready?
What? I mean, Emerson Hancock really got the shit kicked out of him today.
Second start in a row, huh?
Yeah. Well, how about
they got a split, or hey, they got a series win, so that's
right. A split or a series win. Well, we can do since it's early, and people even when they watch this or listen to this live, the game hopefully will be going on, or they'll be watching and listening to it later, and the game will already be over. Despite what happens, they've played. Well, the road trip's been good. Been a good road trip for them.
Absolutely. You beat the Cubs in Chicago in those conditions. That says a lot. I mean, able to slug with the Cubs and outslug them. That was a really good series. It was crazy with the heat and the wind blowing out for 3 games. It was crazy Wrigley games, and they went toe-to-toe with the Cubs. The Cubs made mistakes in the outfield with the wind and sun. The Mariners didn't. Cal Raleigh hit more home runs than they did. It was a really good series. And then to take the first 2 here, it was kept kind of the momentum going. Yesterday, Joe Ryan was really good, and they just got nothing going against him. The guy they've got today is not nearly as good. And the Twins they're in a mess right now. Lost 11-13. It's a good time and a good chance to get them. If the weather holds, it's a 12-10 start today. The rain's supposed to come in pretty hard at 1. So kind of we'll see if they start it, which I don't think they should, if it's, supposed to rain that heavy. So kind of we'll see what goes on. But regardless, they'll get it in because nobody wants to come back to Minnesota for 1, and then on for Texas. But, the offense is carrying. They got to carry on the road, and their offense in June has been just fantastic.
Well, their offense overall on the road is I've discussed this all week, is the best offense in baseball.
Right.
Which is just...
How about that?
It makes no sense.
Can you figure out why, Puck?
I just, I know I think it's just a combination of everything. I mean, I think it is. Whatever the weather is like in Seattle, the conditions there, I think a large part of it is that it's in their head hitting there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that probably whether it's the batter's eye, just all of it. I just think it's a combination of everything. And then I think they go on the road, and a lot of these parks they play in they're not as big. There's not the same dimensions that T-Mobile is, and I think they're just more comfortable hitting away from their home park.
It's a confidence thing. You're right. You get to the elements out here, and the ball goes. It's summer, it's humid, the ball's flying, and wind's blowing in Wrigley. This is a good ballpark to hit too. I don't think they're facing great pitching staffs per se, so I think that helps a little bit too.
Yeah.
Their philosophy of going up the middle, which is good and it's been working. At T-Mobile, those fly balls to center sometimes are out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Left center, right center in the gaps, those are out. Well, on the road, a lot of times those are hits, and that makes a big difference for these guys. So
yeah, absolutely,
it's fun. And it's different too because hitters love it, pitchers not so much. Obviously numbers much better at home, so it's kind of a flip-flop type of thing.
Well, and that's because it works it works the other way for the pitchers. They love being at home because they know behind them there's this security blanket of the park, and then also the conditions there. Going back to the conditions, I mean, we can fret and be concerned about how the players handled the heat. Trent Thornton, the umpire.
Sad, yeah. That was scary.
I saw video of my favorite reporter inside a camera well, looking like he was famished, like Gandhi going down with dripping sweat and a towel on his head.
Yes, a wet towel with ice in it.
And I was concerned for you, but in all seriousness, like what? I mean, you're working and you're sitting out there in it. What was that like? It looked miserable.
It was miserable. 100% miserable. I was lucky in the camera well. I could stand kind of in the doorway between the camera well and the dugout, so I was in shade, which helped a little bit as far as like sunburning and getting out of the sun there. But the heat and just watching the guys try to deal with it, they would dip their hand, literally both hands into the ice and burn out ice and just put it on their heads and then put the hat on, or soak a towel in water and just bury their head in the water, every half inning. They were trying to drink electrolytes and water. They were trying to get everything, fluids in them the whole game long. It was just, it was one of those things where, guys would go down in the tunnel, down in the cage where it's air conditioning, like Logan Gilbert. The pitchers and the catchers would do that, obviously, and come back, and it just hits you, the oppressive heat. And you saw what happened to Thornton and the guys, and
that was scary too. It was real scary to watch
because you're not used to that. Guys like Solano were saying, you never get that in Seattle, and you come to somewhere hot and humid, which makes the big difference. It just sucks the life out of you, man. And it was it was tough. And so I'm glad that Thornton's okay. He pitched well last night. Ump was fine. He was able to work the next game, which I thought was amazing. So happy to get out of there. And I'm very happy Texas has an indoor stadium. Say what you want about that place. It is 72 and comfortable every game. I love it.
This is why you ever think about moving away from the Northwest, and I think, would you go to the Midwest? Never. Not because I don't like the Midwest.
The weather.
It's wonderful.
It is.
You want to talk about extremes, an extreme winter, and that summer hits. No thanks. Out.
And yesterday, the flood warnings all around Minneapolis. A lot of the lakes and rivers were rising up to flood levels because of the rain. That was just one day. So yeah, and then the winters here. Yeah, no thanks. It's
just miserable.
Pick your time to visit. But yeah, you're right. Wonderful people. Fun
great
place
people.
to
Great people.
Visit, and food and stuff. The hospitality is great.
How was Wrigleyville? Did you get out and bounce around the town a little bit?
Okay, now I was fortunate to do that. Now, Friday, Mariners win, right? So fans are in a good mood. My brother and his wife came to the game.
Okay.
So the three of us.
They've been out there for how long?
Oh, they've been out here like 8 years now, I think.
Okay.
Loving it. We go to Wrigleyville. I mean,
move there for the weather.
Move there for the weather, yeah. No, they like it. They like the seasons. First bar we go to, big open. Wrigleyville is fantastic.
Yeah,
and there were so many Mariner fans going to Wrigley for the first time. A lot of players first time. Their families all came. It was chaos on the field post game. I don't know if you saw any of the shows, but they were so nice. They let everybody on the field.
Well,
my gosh.
We will circle back to that because I did witness a very frustrated reporter on the field.
Well, so we go out, and the first bar we go to, Mariner fans are there. Everybody's having a great time. A couple of them recognize me, Brad, whatever. One buys me a beer, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. And then we run into like this group of 16 guys, bachelor party. And they're like, hey, can we buy you beer? And I said, absolutely.
Yeah, of course you can.
They come over and they see, my brother and his wife. Meanwhile, my brother's loving it, thinking it's so funny, right? They come over with a bucket of beer, and we're hanging out, we're talking, and taking pictures. And we go on to the next bar, same thing. Hey, can we buy you a beer? Yes, you can.
You are a big deal.
I'm a big deal.
Yeah.
In small doses with Mariner fans. And then, after a win, they're happy.
My favorite part is, can you? Yeah, you can. Sure. Can you get the whole table of beer?
Yeah, I'm gonna need three. And they were very accommodating. They're very generous. Taking pictures with people, and just it was funny. My brother had got a kick out of it for sure. And it was fun. They were.
Well, so you kind of tied one on Friday a little bit, huh?
Friday was pretty good. Yeah. Friday was good. And with the all day games, 9 o'clock, you're done.
You're out. You got plenty of sleep. Yeah, you're just out.
Exactly.
You finish. You probably had a box of deep dish at the side of your hotel bed, and you're like
out,
snoring, mouth open.
So it was fun. The fans were great, and then one of the fans on Sunday gave me a fan, so I could somewhat survive, post game, which was very nice. Little misting fan.
Yeah.
I mean, kudos. Thumbs up, Mariners fans. It was awesome.
I wish I did have the video of you. What day was it?
Walking around me in front of me?
I can't remember.
It might have been the first game. The first game, I think, was the worst on Friday.
I thought you were gonna lose it on the air.
Yeah, I'm like, what are we doing?
The camera went to you, and you didn't realize you were on camera.
Right.
And you were do you even know this?
I think so. Is this when I'm pointing at the monitor?
Yes, you're pointing at the monitor, so you're doing the voiceover.
Yep.
Of whatever is going on, but you're on camera. And
I don't know because
you don't know because you don't see
the monitor wasn't working,
and you are screaming at some poor guy making minimum wage that's been sitting out in the frickin' heat, dying.
He's doing better than.
And you're listening, and you're yelling at. Let's call him Dale.
Dale
is getting screamed at by some prima donna from Seattle.
And Dale's looking at me like, what? And I'm pointing at the monitor like,
oh, God,
there's nothing more I can do. That is the signal that something's wrong with the monitor. And he's just looking at me, looking at the monitor, looking at me. Dale. And I'm like,
that's not how they work in the Midwest, dude.
Dale. Well, we finally fixed that, and then we had like all the.
Well, then people were just walking in front of you, behind you,
around me.
And then you said, "Yeah, well, I guess somebody just." And when I thought you were going to lose it is when you're on camera and you are clearly frustrated that people are walking in front, and around you, and then someone I think bumped into you. Oh, I guess they're just going to bump into us.
Yeah, that's fine. I guess. And security did absolutely nothing.
Oh.
They let everybody on the field and did absolutely nothing.
When they say they let everyone on the field, just fans? Just anybody? Or these were families?
These were all family and friends and people I mean, some had wristbands, which you had to have to get on the field. Some didn't. It's just like any Mariner fan, they were just letting on. There must have been like 100 people on the field. It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
unbelievable. Never seen anything like it post game.
Thought we were going to get a Bill O'Reilly moment. Where you just lose it. Guy thought we were close.
Dale.
Come on, Dale.
Dale, I mean, come on, man.
Jesus.
I have no monitor. Anyway,
I can't do my job.
It's hard to do highlights. The worst, Puck, is trying to do like the game recap, the highlights. You know, those games, it was 9-6, 14-9.
Yeah.
And no monitor. So I'm just like, I think Cal Raleigh homered here.
Cal Raleigh home run. Yeah.
Where am I?
Yeah.
And the producer's trying to tell me in my ear, trying to keep up with, the video. So
that's hard.
It was fun.
It's hard to talk and then someone's talking in your ear.
Yeah.
That's just.
And you're getting bumped into, but you have to be nice and polite because it's it's one of the player's mom or something. So I'm like,
sure. Oh, sorry.
You're fine.
You can't scream at somebody and then that's Cal's mom.
It's Cal's mom. Yeah. She was on the field with his sister.
Me? Do you know who I am? The mother of Cal Raleigh.
I'm in trouble now.
Gave birth to the American League MVP.
Boy, I think so.
You know what was most impressive?
Absolutely.
Most impressive about the whole Chicago series. I've said this multiple times. The fact is, the guy did that offensively, and then caught 2 of the 3 games.
I tell you, the game Saturday that they lost, he homers in the 8th or 9th inning, catching the first 2 games. And he comes in the dugout. I mean, he can barely hold the trident. I mean, his face is red. He is like celebrating like this. Like he is so tired. He can't even enjoy. He probably didn't even want a helmet. He didn't want to have to go around the bases.
Didn't want to grab the trident probably because that thing's heavy.
It is heavy. And it's like, I'm done. I mean, it was for those catchers, man, it was something else, man. So, but what he's doing is like, a record every day. It's unbelievable. And now that he's getting on base a lot more and getting hits and his average, he's up to like 283 or something with that power and what he does.
Yeah.
And Judge has been slumping lately. So it's like, man, right now, I would say Cal is a front runner for MVP. Obviously, it's incredibly early. We're just about halfway through the season, but
a lot of it's going to be based on some wins too.
Yeah,
got to be. They got it. They got to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true for an MVP. You're right. But as far as because Judge was way up here and Cal was here, we all admitted that. But now I think Cal's caught him. But you're right.
It's a fun conversation though, and I think it's also a conversation. What's cool is to see the rest of the country start to pick up on it.
Yes.
Like there's a lot of national shows have discussed Cal Raleigh a bunch.
Right.
And so I don't think he's not going for Mariner fans or in all Seattle sports fans who get concerned. Oh, God, we're just never talked about. He's being talked about a lot now. So,
right.
Good.
And the next phase of All-Star voting, I believe, begins Monday. They've got the top 2, he and Alejandro Kirk from Toronto. So I think it resets. So Mariner fans need to go mariners.com/vote. You can vote once a day now. It used to be 5 times. I think now it's just once a day. But we got to keep voting for Cal, which I feel very confident. I mean, he won by like 1 million the first round. So I feel pretty confident he'll get in. But let's all do our part and get the big dumper to Atlanta there.
Yeah, I think he's going to be okay. Despite them playing what's frustrating about this whole thing, despite them playing as well as they've been playing on this road trip, they're not making any ground up. Now,
damn
again,
Astros.
It's fine. These Astros.
We keep talking about them.
Talked about this all year long. I told you, and I'm not trying to told you so. Until you take them out, they just, it's like in rounders. You check, you just keep hanging around and hanging around. They just hang around.
And how about the guy?
Hang around all the time.
They do.
And it's not even hang around now. They're up by 5.5 games now.
How about the guy who homers a couple of nights ago. They win 1-0.
Okay.
Remember who homered? He was a Mariner for a minute from Portland. Cooper Hummel.
Is it Hummel?
No, it's Hummel.
Hummel. You just call him Hummel.
Hummel.
Yes, Cooper Hummel.
Astros picked that guy up. I had no idea where he was. You know what I mean? And he homers to win 1-0.
Yeah,
that's
real frustrating.
That's an Astro win right there. But they're getting some pitching from some guys we've never heard of. Their bullpen is still good, and
the guy that went last night that held the Phillies score. The guy that went on Wednesday, Gordon. I've never heard of this guy.
Don't know who he is. Right?
Yeah, it's just
he's had to come up from AAA because of the injuries, and now he's dealing. But yeah, it's just it's that the damn Astros. You know.
Well, it's just it's that DNA though. That's what I keep talking about with them. It's just that winning DNA that they have.
True, and they still have enough left over, which I get. Texas will be interesting because they're playing better. I can't wait to talk to Booney, by the way. That's going to be just
right. The hitting coach. I forgot about that. Hitting coach.
It's going to be fun for me.
Yeah.
And they're hanging around, and this series is pretty big. I think if they get 2 or 3, or maybe even sweep, the Mariners do. I feel like Texas can be somewhat buried. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's early, but I think it's pretty big series. I think it's bigger for Texas. You know, they need to figure some things out. But what I wanted to mention on the Astro front, in the camera well here in Minnesota, I'm next to the Mariners dugout. We're on the third base side, and there's a bunch of Mariner fans kind of around me in the dugout. And I give them credit, man. Every time Correa comes up, they boo. And I'm like, that is fantastic. I mean, at T-Mobile, we're used to that, but here in Target Field, they're booing the former Astro Correa. Yeah. I was like, I turn around, I'm like, well done.
You applaud it.
Well done.
Good. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Well, they get Houston right out of the gate. I mean, we've still got a lot of games ago, but right out of the gate of the All-Star break, and then they don't see him, I think, until I just looked at it. I think much later in the season.
Obviously, as much
until
as
September. Yeah,
is that right? Not till September. Wow.
They see him the first 3 games after the All-Star break, and then don't see him again until the September 19th back in Seattle for a 3-game series. So,
that'll be a fun series.
Yeah, it should be.
That's going to mean a lot. We should. Yep. It'll be fun what both teams do with the deadline too. That'll be fun to see.
That's the other part of it too with them is that do they how aggressive do both teams get? We expect Seattle to be aggressive, but are they going to try and target the same players? That gets into kind of an arms race, not right. In terms of just getting an actual arm, but just an arms race of getting talent between the two teams.
Yeah, I think their league's maybe a little bit different. I mean, Houston would love a bat too, but Mariners need one more, and I think Houston, I think, would love to get a starter. I think the Mariners would probably target a bullpen arm. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. Maybe they go after the same hitter. I don't know.
They don't need I'll tell you what the Mariners don't need anymore is a right-handed first baseman. I mean,
hey,
Jesus,
you and I, laughable. Everybody. This guy was hitting under 100 the whole year, and now he's like 260. Solano, Donnie Barrels.
He's on. Right? He's on just a heater.
Garver had a nice series. It's like, here we go. Mm-hmm. And Canzone. 4 homers, same thing. I was surprised they kept him over Rowdy Tellez, but they made the right call. And Donnie Barrels is just, I mean, wow.
Do you think what will you think ultimately led to their decision with that? Why they went that route? Why they decided to keep Canzone over Tellez?
I think with Wrigley coming back. They were going to work, him in more at first against righties. Mm-hmm. So I don't think Rowdy had as regular a position. And I think Rayleigh and Solano, those guys, they view them as a better pinch hitter. Mm-hmm. So if Rowdy came in the game, I think they were more comfortable with the other guys putting the ball in play. Right. I think so. Yeah, but hey, it worked.
Let's good luck there, getting the game in with Minnesota. Yeah. And listen, when people are watching or listening to this, maybe they already got the game in. And then also have fun in Texas. Have we lined up a tea time in Texas?
With no off day and with the hotel changing ownership, they bumped up the price quite a bit. So I think I'm just going to go to the range and finally get some practice in, Puck.
Wait, why does that bother you? You have to pay for that?
Yeah, well, you have to pay for golf. That's what I'm talking about.
The golf. Oh, I thought you were saying to pay for your room. I'm like, why are you paying for your room?
The MLB rate is significantally higher. So I think I'm going to finally get a chance to practice because that's what's been killing me, Puck.
Yeah.
Chipping and putting. I haven't practiced all year. And so I go and I'm missing those 5-footers that you and I normally make.
We always make. Well, it's always a good.
You got to, good.
We'll miss a 5-footer because I don't make anyone make a 5-footer.
Yeah, you're fine. You're good. Yeah.
You're good. Pick it up. Let's go.
Pick it up. Hey, next time I'll tell you about the Farquhar speed golf.
You're going to tell us about what?
Danny Farquhar playing speed golf. That's what he does all off season.
Oh, where he runs?
First one out and you run. You take 4 clubs and you run and you try to finish quickly. And it's like, stupid. Just like, you're not even working on your game.
Why don't you get him on fastballs and fairways?
Oh, I will. Fairways and fastballs.
Dang it.
It's okay. Hey, new episode next week featuring your favorite catcher.
Fairways and fastballs next week with Cal Raleigh.
Cal Raleigh. Miles Masterboni joins us as well.
Okay.
Cal's a lot of fun out there.
Find it on YouTube?
Yep. Well, for Root Sports, it'll debut on Root.
Okay.
It'll be on there just about every day around the Mariners game.
Okay,
and then YouTube as well. Every day. Need that content, Puck. Kind of like your show.
Exactly. Is after that, do we still get the golf instructions with Jimmy Hanlon?
I don't think so anymore.
Damn it.
I haven't seen that show in a while.
God, I loved him.
Yeah. You loved his playing partners.
Well, because he's like this 50-year-old or 45, 50-year-old, drunk on gin and tonic, and then he's got all these 21-year-old sorority girls that are his playing partners. Jesus.
It's a good concept.
Yeah, it was great.
Hey, how about in like the pitch meeting for that? It's like, Jimmy, what do you got?
Jimmy, who do we think we should bring in?
I drink a little bit. I play some golf, and I have some really attractive girls. Can they play? Sure.
Beta Phi sorority comes down, and we just.
Can anybody play golf?
Yeah.
You want to be on TV?
Sure. Yes.
Come on down.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We'll talk next week.
Hey, sounds good. Thank you.
There he is. Brad Adam, brought to you by the world-renowned #1 steakhouse in the land, John Howie Steak. Also, Whiskey by John Howie. And again, if you just came in late with the Brad Adam episode, in case you missed it or would like to watch it all over again or listen to it all over again, you can find Brad, his weekly appearance on the Daily Puck Drop, a part of the whole show there up on YouTube. Also on your favorite podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. And big thanks to John Howie for always in the continued partnership and sponsorship there of Brad. Whiskey by John Howie, also John Howie Steak. There is no better steak place in the land than John Howie Steak. You want to impress your friends, you want to impress your family, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, business partners, John Howie Steak. But before you go into John Howie Steak, mosey on over. It's right next door. Whiskey by John Howie, and taste the best whiskeys in the land, and then go have a wonderful steak with a great view there of downtown Bellevue. Big thanks to John Howie Steak for delivering Brad Adam from Root Sports every single week. They are in a weather delay. See if they get it, as depending on when you watch or listen to this. If you are doing it later, maybe they played the game, maybe they did not. Coming up next is our interview with Mitch Levy. Coming up next is our KJ Arntz podcast with Mitch Levy. Now, we play the entire thing during the live Daily Puck Drop, but once its podcasts are going up on YouTube for later consumption, you just get a sneak preview. So if you want to watch or listen to the whole KJ Arntz show with Mitch Levy from Mitch Unfiltered Podcast, sign up to become a Puck's Posse member. Just go to pucksports.com, sign up there. You can also go to mitchunfiltered.com and sign up to be a patron with Mitch. On this little sneak preview, I should say, if I can spit it out, we discussed with Mitch. He's got a great intern story about working back in Washington, D.C., and also working with Tony Kornheiser. We go about 40-plus minutes, so if you want to watch or listen to the whole thing, go to pucksports.com and sign up to become a Puck's Posse member. Enjoy, though, the sneak preview. See, I nailed it that time. Let's wrap.
I don't know that I like the way I come across.
Oh, stop it.
When you guys are talking about me and I'm on the treadmill listening to me about me, you made like a little like Mitch. He's not going to talk to the interns. What are you talking about? I didn't talk to the interns. What kind of remark was that? I did too.
You did not.
I talked to many of the interns, just not
me.
You. No, well, you were not stand out.
Oh, I remember there was. You may recall this. There was one that you were in love with. God, you loved this intern. God, he was real smart kid. Maybe from the back east. I don't know. I'm going to do real skinny guy, like blonde hair. He was just, I always remember how much you just like, this guy is like going to be like one of the best in the business, whether he was in radio or not. He's just a hard worker. I'm bringing the story up and I don't remember his name. I
don't know who you're talking.
Maybe you would recall him.
My favorite.
See, that's what I'm saying. No one stands out to you.
Well, come on. It's a long time ago, but you guys could be a little nicer. Anyway.
Hey, do you remember, what was your order from the sandwich tree? Do you
probably
remember?
Egg whites?
Probably an egg white, like a bagel sandwich. Yeah. That was the best. I love that place.
You went to the sandwich tree for me?
Yeah. Every morning for you and Jimmy and
I think I picked up the tab. I hope
you always did in Hot Shot. Yeah. It was after I got done, getting all the highlights.
So I'll tell you a quick
off the VHS tape from the Mariners game the night before.
You'll love an intern story, but it doesn't involve me. Here's my intern story that doesn't involve me. So in 1993-ish, I am producing and doing like sidekick stuff and voices for the Tony Kornheiser show.
Never heard of him.
On WTEM in Washington, D.C. Okay. We had about 6 listeners. Tony would come in from 10 to noon and he would do his show, which I loved. I kind of patterned my show after his. I just loved his show. Okay. And he was scary to all. Everybody was intimidated, but do you really not know who Tony? You know who Tony Kornheiser is, right?
No, I've never heard of him.
You said never heard of him. I didn't know whether you're
just joking.
Okay. Come on, well, you can do better. You can do better with your jokes. So everybody was scared of Tony because he would like light you up. And he had no time. He was like gruff. He was a gruff newspaper guy in those days. He's a little better now because he's become a rich and famous personality. But in those days, this is 1993, he was tough. He was a tough guy, and everybody kind of steered clear. Well, we had this intern. It was his first day. I don't even know what his name was. We had this, I think Andrew Siciliano. Do you know that name? He was an intern for us. He was an intern for us.
Yeah.
So this intern, he knew nothing of Tony or who Tony was. He was just doing this. It was like a high school project, I think. He was a high school or college intern. And he comes in, you could picture this. So the radio setup, the studio setup was exactly how you'd expect it. Tony was sitting in the studio with Andy Poland, and there was a big glass, clear glass, and I was in the booth with the engineer, the world's foremost authority, Greg Garcia, who, by the way, became a huge Hollywood success story writer. World According to Earl, you know Earl something?
Sure.
Yeah.
I got you.
That. He became the creator of that show, and he wrote for lots of other shows. Anyway, he was our board op. And he became
board op became the biggest star.
Well, you got to hear that. That story's even better, but I'll save that. That's a great story. So anyway, no one was allowed in the studio with Tony, or even in.
Boy, this doesn't sound like anybody I know.
No one was allowed. Okay, and this kid wandered into my production, into my booth behind the glass, not knowing it was his first day. He was like 19 years old. And we're in the middle of the show, and I see him come in, and I'm like, uh-oh. And I'm like on air with Tony. I'm like, I'm saying to myself, somebody get that kid out before Tony sees him through the glass. If Tony sees him through the glass, this could be a really bad thing. And I didn't know what to do. We're in the middle of the show, and the kid just wanders in. He's just taking a look, and he goes in front of the window, right in front of the window to look.
Tony?
Yeah. And Tony, in the middle of the show, hits the IFB button while like Andy or I'm talking, and he says, can I curse?
Of course.
He says, Get that! Who is that effing kid? Get him out of there! What am I, a chimpanzee in a zoo? Get him out of there! What is he, looking at me in a cage? Get him out of there! And the kid, I swear to you, the kid, if he didn't pee his pants, I mean, he raced out of there. I thought he was going to race. I thought he was going to go home. Okay? And I didn't know what the hell to do. Tony was screaming at him in the middle of the show. Get out of there! Who do you think you are? Get that guy out of there! I'm no monkey in a zoo. Stop looking at me. I mean, salespeople couldn't come in. Nobody could come in. And this kid, during the break, I look out. He's sitting in a chair, and he's like, tears are coming out of his eyes. And he's shaking. It's his first day of the intern. He just got totally, tears. And Tony comes out like he would do during the commercial break to walk. And he's got this box of Juji fruits. Do you know Juji fruits?
Yeah.
He walks out, and the first thing he sees is this kid sitting there like shaking. And he walks over to him and he says, Juji fruit? That's all he did. Juji fruit. And then walked away. And then that was the end. That was his way of saying, don't worry about it, kid. Juji fruit.
Yeah, I'm sure the kid was like, oh, good, he likes me now. It reminds me of that drug commercial like in the 80s. Where'd you get this, son? I learned it from watching you. See, now I know. You learned it from watching Kornheiser. That's just the same.
So the board ops name is Greg Garcia. So
Okay.
we're putting the station together. They hired me before we went on the air. We had never gone on the air.
A brand new WTEM was still around. Is it the Commander's Home?
I don't know what it is now. They call it something different. It's not
Okay.
TEM anymore.
Okay.
It's like ESPN. Whatever. We were owned by the guy who's a part owner of the Washington Commanders football team. Okay. We had billionaire brother owners. They bought this religious station. It was all really, they got a 0.0 rating or whatever you want to call it, rating at the time. They bought this signal and they turned it into a sports station. They spent like millions of dollars getting Kornheiser and James Brown and all these names and producers. And they just spent a ton of money. They didn't know what they were doing. They hired me as a young producer before they even went on the air. They hadn't even gone on the air yet. It was like February that they hired me. They were still building the building, and we were going on the air in May of 1992. Okay. And my boss says to me, we got to hire a board op for you to do Tony's show and James Brown, the James Brown of CBS that you know, who does the NFL. Sure. He did 12 to 3 and Tony did 10 to 12, and I needed a board op. Okay. So we put ads out, we put feelers out, and this guy comes in. His name is Greg Garcia, and he says, my name is Greg Garcia. I went to Frostburg College. I think it's called Frostburg College in Maryland, and I'd like to run your board for Tony and JB. And I said, what kind of experience do you have? He said, I love it. I love it. I know it all. I'll show you the board. Take a look at the board. He said, looks at the board. He says, oh, I'm great. I said, you're hired. Okay.
Great interview process.
Whatever. We were scrambling.
Just anybody to do it.
Whatever. I just needed a board op. Okay. Yeah. And the guy says all the right things. He's a nice enough guy, affable guy, likable guy. I said, you know the board? He says, oh yeah, I run a college and whatever. And we hire him. And like the next day after he signs all the paperwork, he says to me, by the way, Mitch, how do you run a board? And what exactly is a board?
I don't even get it.
And I said, what? He said, I just needed a job, but I'm a quick learner. I'm pretty funny. Just show me how to run it. I'm like, oh my God, really? So we go on the air in May, and Tony loves this guy. Everybody loves this guy. He's jumping on the air and doing funny things. He's dropping in sound bites. And Tony calls him the world's foremost authority, Greg Garcia. I don't know why. The world's foremost authority, Greg Garcia. And he is like the hidden gem of the show, making these people just love this guy. It's like the greatest hire I ever made. It was unbelievable. Until about 10 days after we go on the air, we're all working 7-day shifts where there's no days off. Nobody's getting a day off. Greg Garcia comes up to me 10 days after we go on the air and says, "Hey, Mitch, can I talk to you?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "I need a couple of weeks off." I said, "You need a couple of weeks off? What, none of us can even take a day off. How am I going to get you a couple of weeks off? Who am I going to get to run the board?" Tony comes out and says to me, "Mitch, get him a couple of weeks off. He's the world's foremost authority, Greg Garcia. You get him." It turns out that Greg Garcia had written an episode of Cheers in a contest, a nationwide contest. Cheers was running at the time. Write an episode. He won the frickin' contest. Of all the people that wrote scripts from around the world, Greg Garcia, my board op script, was picked as the best one, and his prize was he got to go out and be on the set of Cheers and meet all the people and meet the writers and so forth. He went out and he came back and quit and became a Hollywood a writer. He's had 5 shows. He's living the life. It's unbelievable. And the PS to the story is I hadn't seen him in years. Uh-huh. And I'm traveling to New Orleans to the Final Four to see Syracuse play in the Final Four. I think it was New Orleans. And I'm in the New Orleans airport coming back, and I hear, "Psst, psst, hey, Mitchie. And I look over, and sitting on the floor is Greg Garcia at the gate. He's sitting on the floor. And by this time, he's had, was it World According to Earl? Something World According to Earl. Yeah. Something Earl. That was his big show. He had like 3 or 4 good shows, one on HBO, whatever. You know, executive producer, writer, whatever. Mm-hmm. I said, "Greg, what are you doing?" He says, "I'm getting ready to fly back to L.A." And I said to him, "Were you at the Final Four?" Because he didn't even know anything about sports. He didn't even like sports. Mm-hmm. I said, "What are you doing at the Final Four?" He says to me, "When Les Moonves asks you to join him on his private plane to the Final Four, you go to the Final Four." I said, "So where's Les Moonves now? Why are you in the airport?" He said, "He had to leave early, so I put the commercial back." Oh, this is my board op that I should have never hired.
You should get royalty. You should get royalty from him. Big thanks for watching and listening to another episode of KJ Arntz with Mitch Levy, Mitch Unfiltered Podcast. And again, during the live daily puck drop every Thursday, we play the entire podcast. But once it goes to the podcast form, after the show is over, the live show is over, it's just for Puck's Posse members. You can sign up today as little as $5 a month at pucksports.com. You can also sign up to become a patron for Mitch Levy, MitchUnfiltered.com. Again, it airs in its entirety every Thursday during the live show, but once the live show is over, just for Puck's Posse members. Again, go to pucksports.com to sign up today. Let's wrap up the show with Hey, What the Puck, which is brought to you by one of our great sponsors, brought to you by, again, Restoration One of North Seattle, which lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when these damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online, restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. We haven't gotten to this story yet, and I was going to bring it up tomorrow. Also with Jim when he's back on. But just condolences go out to baseball writer Scott Miller. Scott Miller earlier this week passed away. He had been battling cancer. Not sure how public that was, but Scott passed away at the age of 62. If you remember our days back on radio, Scott was a regular visitor with me. He had a weekly segment with me back in the day when he worked at CBS Sports. He later went on to Bleacher Report, started his career back in the Midwest. He was a huge Detroit Tigers fan. In fact, that's what got him into baseball, was covering the Tigers initially, and then he moved out west because his dad was in the newspaper business, realized, I think it was in Encinitas, and then realized, oh, this is what I want to do for a living. Moved back to the Midwest to cover the Twins for a period of time. And then when, CBS Sports was kind of the first website, digital space to do sports content, he jumped on and started covering baseball. There's just so many great things that people have said about Scott, since he passed. Bob Nightingale, I think, was the first one who've had Bob on the show too. First one to share the news on social media, USA Today. And he just was the nicest man. He really was. Lynn Henning, who was a longtime sports writer, friend of Miller, sports writer at the Detroit News, said this about Scott: if you're talking exceptional baseball writing and an extraordinary man, you've captured Scott Miller. His personal goodness surpassed even his journalism, which wasn't easy. There's a reason he was so widely read and even more widely respected by managers, players, as well by readers, and of course, front office people. He was the definition of personal and professional excellence. That was just a well-worded in regards to Scott. He was, it's a funny thing in this business, you interview these guys or whoever, and they come on all the time, and sometimes you've never met him. I never met Scott in real life. Scott and I would communicate over the phone, on the air, text messages, and what was said there about Scott was 100% right. He, as big of a deal he was, covering baseball over those years, he always had time to come on the show, even when we did something regularly. And I think we did a regular show, I want to say, for a couple of years. Then I remember Scott said, hey, I'm not going to do it anymore regularly. He just had some stuff going on. He's like, he was kind of taking a step back. But I would call him or text him all the time. And it'd be like, sometimes it'd be last second. Hey, Scott, it's last second. It's 11 o'clock. Can you come on at 11:30 and talk about the Mariners? It was, you got it, Puck, no problem. And even when we talk on the phone, it was always as if we were like really close friends in our private conversations, and then even on the air. He just always had this joy about him, this approachability about him. Kind of in line with what Jim wrote about this week at Jim Moore of the go-to guy Substack.com, where he always makes time for younger people in the business to share his wisdom and advice and all that. Scott was always the same way. Tyler Kepner, who used to, I say Tyler interned at the CLPI, New York Times, now the Athletic, said this about Scott in a story of the Detroit News, said, no one spread joy like Scott Miller. Truly one of the kindest, most upbeat people I've ever met. Loved his family, friends, and the game. And this is what is so true about Scott Miller, is what Tyler says here. And he ended the quote by saying, he made life better for everyone he knew. And you won't find anyone that has a negative thing to say about Scott Miller. And a truly sad day. Sports writing, baseball writing lost just a giant in the game if you're a baseball fan. And, society of how we treat people lost a great person, because he was just nice to everyone. And being nice to people, it's not hard. And we're all guilty of not being nice. Everyone is. And Scott was just all the time, just on it. Loved baseball. I was always jealous of Scott. We'd say it every time. God, Scott, you have the best life. Covering baseball, and you live in San Diego. And he always got a chuckle at that. Rest in peace, Scott. You were the best. That's Hey What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. If your commercial, residential property ever has an issue, mold damage, water, fire, they're the first ones to call. And they are going to drop everything they do and come help you. So give them a call, 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, North Seattle franchise. Thank you for everyone watching and listening today. Thank you to all the sponsors, Lindbeck Lumber, John Howie Steak, Zogs on Fox Island, Hartley and Hartley Insurance, also Restoration One. Today's Daily Puck Drop, find it up on YouTube, Puck Sports. Subscribe to the channel, like the channel, leave a comment, try to get as many as we possibly can. Also find the Daily Puck Drop on your favorite podcast platforms. and at pucksports.com. When you're at pucksports.com, please sign up to be a member of the Pucks Posse. Just $5 a month to support all the free content. And we give you VIP and exclusive shows as well, like our baseball coverage with Ryan Divish. Also, the Sports Pit, new episode out this week with Steve Sandmeyer and Matt Stretch Johnson. They bust my balls about a baseball scrimmage. It's very funny. And then, of course, it goes away after we sign off here on the live show, but Mitchy the Kid, Mitch Unfiltered, another episode of KJ Arntz for Pucks Posse members. And, of course, now we produce the Graz with Gas Take 5 podcast. Again, new episodes drop on Monday, and you can find everything up at pucksports.com. Again, we'll talk to you tomorrow, Friday's edition of the show. Until then, as always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rob you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!